Coming up on Cronkite NewsWatch.
The number of registered independent voters has increased in the past decade and now surpasses the majority party. We have a breakdown on the new numbers.
Plus, Representative Ruben Gallego is resigning his state seat for one at the U.S. Capitol. A board is being set up to pick his replacement as he looks to begin his campaign.
And starting this summer, you'll be saving money on your car's emission checks. We'll take a look at the recent change that could help your wallet.
In-depth, insightful, innovative. Cronkite NewsWatch starts right now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite NewsWatch. I'm Brittany Bade.
And I'm Crystal Story. Thanks for joining us. For the last 2 decades, there have been more registered Republican voters representing Arizona than any other party. But as of today, that's now a thing of the past. Voter registration numbers just released today show another party has taken the #1 spot. In the past, when someone registered to vote, they usually chose Republican or Democrat. But oh, how the years have changed. Of the 3.2 million registered voters, more people in Arizona are registered as other, also known as independent.
Important choices lie ahead for our state, and independents have an opportunity to directly influence the direction of our state government.
20 years ago, the Independent Party was represented by less than 270,000 Arizona voters. But today, there are now more than 1,134,000. That's 4,000 more than the 1,130,000 voters registered as Republicans, and the 960,000 plus registered as Democrats.
These numbers in Arizona mirror trends nationally. About 40% of Americans identify themselves as independent.
It was just last month that the Secretary of State's office thought the process of independents being the lead group would still take a while.
I would suspect over the next 6 to 8 months that group of people will surpass the Republican enrollment in Arizona.
But Matt Roberts was off by several months, and now the Democrats and Republicans are trying to figure out how to keep the voters they have and not lose any more.
What it means for Democrats is we've got to continue doing what we've been doing, reaching out to independents, reaching out to a lot of different constituencies, and making sure that we have a message that resonates with those voters.
We never take anything for granted, and we do understand that there are national trends that are being reflected here in Arizona with the changing voter registrations. But at the end of the day, we're very confident with our program moving forward.
The one worry some politicians have is the fear that independent voters won't show up to the polls, especially during the midterm elections. As the Secretary of State's office told NewsWatch, for some reason, only 10% of independents showed up during the primary elections, even though they're allowed to participate.
Arizona's Latino population is growing, and with it, its power to sway elections. But Cronkite News reporter Clarissa Tapia is here and tells us that they are failing to tap into that potential. Clarissa?
Thanks, Brittany. The Latino vote could make a big difference in upcoming elections, but that won't happen unless Latinos start registering to vote. In the past, groups have tried all kinds of things to register them, including going door to door. Now they're taking it one step further by going where Latinos are known to meet up, at church.
Going to church is a getaway for most people. And the last thing you expect to see is a table asking you to register to vote. But as strange as it sounds, this is the new target of many voting advocates.
Well, this is a good opportunity for our people, especially in our parish. It's mostly Spanish people, and many of them need more information in order to have the opportunity for voting.
But not everyone agrees that interrupting church time for voting registration is a good use of time.
I don't think it's true. Your church is a religious thing, so I don't think it's right.
What most people don't know is that it's perfectly legal to set up a booth outside of a church and register people to vote. What's not legal is telling them which side they should vote for.
But here we're talking about registration. And registration is a civic duty, not necessarily a political duty.
No matter how you see it, for this father, getting people to register to vote is a positive thing.
I think it's a good idea and good opportunity for our people to register and have the opportunity for express their ideas.
Express their ideas with their votes in the voting booth come Election Day.
For the priest at Immaculate Heart of Mary, he says all he needs from anyone who would like to have a voter registration table outside his church is to just call in advance, and he will make sure there are no problems. Clarissa Tapia, Cronkite News.
A new panel was named in the past hour to find a replacement for a newly vacated state legislative seat. Cronkite News reporter Cooper Rummel joins us live from downtown Phoenix with details.
Well, that seat belonged to State Representative Ruben Gallego, who's now campaigning for a hotly contested congressional seat.
Ruben Gallego, State Representative. Oh, actually, Ruben Gallego, congressional candidate.
Even lawmakers are struggling to keep up in Arizona's feverish round of political musical chairs. It started when Congressman Ed Pastor announced he would not seek re-election.
People who are going to decide to run in the campaign, now that I'm retiring, give them enough time to develop their campaigns and do the petitions and raise the money, etc.
After Pastor's announcement, State Senator Steve Gallardo and Maricopa County Supervisor Mary Wilcox announced their candidacy. Then last week, Representative Ruben Gallego announced he would resign his seat to focus on the campaign.
This race requires a full-time effort to actually win it.
And that creates yet another political vacancy. A panel of 3 people has been chosen to fill Gallego's seat. The political tempo is picking up both at the state and federal level, and November is still 8 months away.
And that panel has exactly 1 week to fill Gallego's seat. Live in downtown Phoenix, Cooper Rummel, Cronkite News.
Arizona Attorney General Tom Horne joined the effort to convince the largest pharmacy chains in the nation to stop selling tobacco products. Attorney generals of 28 states and territories have written to CEOs of Walmart, Walgreens, Rite Aid, Safeway, and Kroger, asking them to remove tobacco products from their shelves. Horne has a long record of protecting kids from underage tobacco use because 90% of all adult smokers start smoking by the age of 18. Healthcare costs and productivity losses attributable to smoking cost the nation at least $289 billion each year.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry issued a list of exceptional schools in the U.S. that support public diplomacy efforts. Sunny Slope High School received this recognition for hosting high school exchange students sponsored by the U.S. Department of State.
Coming up on NewsWatch.
You may have to do it every year, but starting in July, it's going to be about 25% cheaper. I'll tell you why coming up.
Find out why the number of diesels have decreased in the past decade coming up.
Imagine being stranded.
Needing 16,000 points for them.
From TV banks to computers.
Cronkite NewsWatch starts right now.
Kiss me. That's my kind of man. You've been creating quite a stir.
The winter you've been waiting for is on PBS.
You must choose either death or life.
All the drama.
There's going to be changes at Downton.
It's getting harder to say no.
The adventure.
The waves are breaking all around us.
And the spectacle of nature.
We're going to show how special these animals are.
Come in from the cold. Support the one place that can take you any place.
Vehicle emission tests are important for the quality of air you breathe, and this summer you may breathe a little easier financially. Cronkite News reporter Cassie Clapp calculated the savings.
I drove to a vehicle emissions inspection center to gauge customer reaction, and not surprisingly, they like the new discount. It's about as fun as going to the DMV.
But yeah, it's quite a bit of weight.
And customers like Rafael Harregui, who have vehicles older than 1980, have to do emissions testing every year.
Yeah, because mostly you spend your day off waiting in line.
Right now, Phoenix residents are paying $27.75. Starting in July, the price will be significantly discounted.
It's actually over 25%, and this test fee will apply to over 1 million motorists in the Metro Phoenix area.
The Arizona Department of Environmental Quality says the lower price is from a new contract.
Our company that's won the bid has given us a very good price that we're able to pass on to the consumers.
And consumers are excited about it.
Nowadays, stuff is going up in price. It'll be good to be a little bit cheaper.
Another perk, a free gas cap, if that's what causes your car to fail the test.
It will minimize the hassle of having to go purchase a cap and come back and wait in line a second time. And there's immediate benefit to the environment.
The manager at the inspection station told me on busy days like today, about 400 to 500 cars are tested. And starting in July 1st, those customers are going to be saving some cash. Cassie Clapp, Cronkite News.
There will always be business in the funeral industry, but as Cronkite News reporter Juan Magana explains, the types of services people want from this industry are changing.
We don't like to think about it, death.
We're just like any other business. We just happen to deal with dead bodies.
But that's been Brad Hansen's job for the past 35 years.
From cleanup to meeting with families and everything in between.
He's second generation at Hansen's Mortuary, and he's seen the funeral industry change. 65% of Hansen Mortuary business choose cremation over the other services. Those services include the traditional burial, which is much more expensive than the cremation.
We anticipate by the year 2025, here in Maricopa County, the cremation rate will probably level off at around 80%.
Hansen says he's altered his business to adapt to the changes.
Having our own crematory, being able to be a resource for body donation, being a resource for event planning.
But other funeral homes in Arizona have recently filed for foreclosure.
And we expect or anticipate more closings with those that cannot deal with the rising costs in cremation, a rising number of cremations in the state of Arizona.
Thomas says the economy has forced people to choose cremation, and others are donating their bodies to science.
Many of those would choose that route. I'm doing a service for mankind, and at the same time, I get a free cremation.
But Hansen is not worried about the future because he says he doesn't see the traditional funeral ever going away. In Phoenix, Juan Magana, Cronkite News.
Thomas says with the number of cremations going up, the cost of traditional funeral services will also increase.
It's only 11 years old, but already a part of a museum. For the agency known as ICE, an exhibit dedicated to their duties and responsibilities is now open at the National Museum of Crime and Punishment in Washington, D.C. Cronkite News reporter Jillian Idle gives us a look inside the new exhibit.
Weapons smuggling, narcotics enforcement, human trafficking. Issues Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE, deal with every single day.
Different areas that public doesn't really think about, consumer goods that are counterfeited, different items and tools used for drug smuggling, and then just the history of Homeland Security and ICE specifically.
A lot of what's on display seems to have some sort of tie to Arizona.
We use a lot of our resources are in Arizona, and we're having great success.
One of the main focuses at this new ICE exhibit is border security, an issue that Arizona is all too familiar with. ICE has dismantled more than 75 drug smuggling tunnels along the border, and it all begins with these robots.
These are million-dollar operations that the cartels have, and there's ventilation systems, there's railroad systems, communication systems. Also, they can move their product through quickly.
The robots can withstand various types of terrain and are commonly used to inform agents when it is safe for them to enter a tunnel.
We'll get more and more successful as time goes on, both using technology, which they can see here at the exhibit, as well as good old-fashioned police work.
The current ICE exhibit is scheduled to run through the summer and then plans to relocate to a more permanent location within the Crime Museum beginning this fall.
Coming up on NewsWatch.
Arizona could face a water crisis, but one group is using magic to teach children to conserve water for the future.
And spring is right around the corner, but not before Mother Nature has one more say. I got your forecast coming up next.
NewsWatch is one of the really big things I will always remember for the rest of my life.
You're lugging around all of your equipment, you are doing all of the work, and that's what makes it so fulfilling to me.
Being an anchor, I think it's a privilege. I enjoy every moment of it.
Seeing your show on air, it is one of the most surreal feelings ever.
What if we could unlock every mystery?
We're at the beginning of a revolution. That's a huge discovery.
That's never been done before, ever, anywhere.
No one feeds on curiosity like PBS. Give to your PBS station so future generations can keep asking, what if?
Scientists say Arizona could face a water crisis in less than 25 years. That's prompted a Valley company to focus on the younger generation to conserve this precious resource. Cronkite News reporter Hannah Lawrence found they're turning magic to hopefully make a difference.
Some Arizona schools are putting a twist on educating students about water conservation in the Valley, and it's quite magical.
I call kids that like to save water hydro heroes.
Why hydro heroes?
Hydro, well, that means water. And heroes, well, because they rescue it.
Magician Gary Lasik brings magic into schools to teach water conservation.
What magic does is it opens the mind.
And the woman behind the show uses that to her advantage.
The point and the magic happen at the same time so that there's some sort of emotional connection in the brain. And every time they think of water conservation, they think, oh, fun.
Kathy Whalen has been producing her magic shows for 25 years after teaching water conservation became a state requirement in 1980.
Can you write us a show on water conservation? And I'm like, wow, that sounds boring, you know. So I spiced it up with the magic.
Children in the Tempe district were among the first to start learning about conserving this magical resource. Now, 4 Arizona cities have joined Tempe in funding magicians to talk to children about an issue that's becoming more and more urgent.
Wow! All these young kids that we're teaching now are going to grow up and be the residents in the future.
And the kids are in turn teaching their parents.
And the parents would come up to me and say, oh, you're the one who told them I'm not allowed to water the yard in the middle of the day. You're the one who told them I can't take long showers.
It's all part of training the next generation of hydro heroes. Hydro Heroes is currently being taught in more than 200 schools in Arizona year-round. I'm Hannah Lawrence, Cronkite News.
Well, winter with a March Madness all its own. Last night, the floor in New Jersey painted white, but across the Hudson, a sea of green. East Coasters finding time to celebrate St. Paddy's Day this morning, despite some areas seeing almost 8 inches of snow. Now, spring is just days away, but winter seems to be here to stay, and that northeast region, well, they're going to get hit some more, and they're getting hit again. Earlier today, as you can see, D.C., Baltimore, all the way up to New Jersey, getting that ice, that snow, the rain coming up from the Gulf, and it looks like it's going to continue to hit them throughout the rest of the week. But hey, the St. Paddy's Day parades, they still truck on. Looking at us right now, we're looking pretty clear. Beautiful skies out right now. We had some clouds that were going to come in, but everything's missing us. Some slight clouds that are going to just disseminate, but like I said, everything's going right over the top of us. We're watching this over here in the Pacific, these clouds that may come in and get us later this week, but as of now, clear skies, 87 right now in Phoenix, very dry, only 5% humidity, and sunset tonight is going to be at 6:36. And this month's full moon, well, it's the full worm moon, welcoming back the robins, so something to look forward to. Here's your 5-day. I got my little buddy over there bringing in spring. Spring officially starts on Thursday. We got clear skies up until then, and then we could possibly see some heavy clouds and maybe even a little bit of rain, bringing in spring, which has, well, been quite the opposite of what we've been getting all winter long. So keep staying outside that spring training. We're going to be in the low 80s for the highs throughout the rest of the week. And like I said, perfect weather, bringing in spring. There's your forecast. I'm Adam Waltz, Cronkite Weather.
Coming up on NewsWatch.
The ASU basketball team is headed to the NCAA tournament. We'll tell you who it's playing in its first game. And this year's Hall of Honor ceremony was in Vegas this weekend. We'll show you who made the cut. It's St. Patrick's Day and I forgot to wear green. But lucky for you, I do have sports, and it's next.
A tradition of excellence, integrity, and innovation.
The second I came in, I fell in love with the program.
The Cronkite School propels students into the new era of journalism.
Students are learning
digital, Entrepreneurial and collaborative labs encourage students to shape the future of the industry, and the industry is watching.
We have come here to meet with students at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism.
The Cronkite School, the journalism school for the digital age.
What if television could sweep us away to another time and place?
Very nice, my lady.
And could take us from the Gilded Age to the Great War. From the heat of the chase to the heart of a queen. No one tells stories like PBS. Give to your PBS station and help bring stories like these to life. What if television could remember the heroes we honored, the music we danced to, the dreams we chased?
The hope still lives and the dream shall never die.
No one tells our nation's story like PBS. Give to your PBS station and help bring America's story to life.
For the first time since 2009, ASU basketball is going dancing. Any dance you could think of, the Dougie, the stanky leg, just hopefully not twerking. Regardless, the Sun Devils are boogieing straight to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. ASU drew a 10 seed in the Midwest region of the bracket, one of the toughest regions in the last decade. ASU will play the 7 seed Texas Longhorns Thursday night at approximately 6:40. And if ASU gets by Texas, they will play the winner of the 2:15 matchup between Michigan and Wofford. Now the 4 #1 seeds leading the way, Florida, the #1 overall seed in the whole thing. Virginia, the ACC champions, U of A, and the Wichita State Shockers. Not a shock, the 34-0 squad gets a top seed. Now as for that school down south, they'll get started Friday morning at 11:10 when they'll take on Weber State, the Big Sky champs. The Wildcats trying to make sure they don't become the first 1 seed to lose its opening game. And now over to the women. The Lady Sun Devils have just learned their fate. ASU has earned a 9 seed in the Notre Dame bracket and will begin its journey to Nashville in Toledo as they'll take on the 8 seed Vanderbilt Saturday at 11 a.m. Now every year the Pac-12 Basketball Hall of Honor inducts 1 member from each school into the conference's Hall of Fame. Cronkite sports reporter Ryan Foote attended the ceremony in Las Vegas and found out the players remember the relationships way more than they remember the jumpers they made.
No one is more proud of a brother than Theo Heap.
It's kind of hard for me to talk about my brother's playing. He was because I brag on him.
He's bragging because his brother, Verl Heap, was this year's Hall of Honor inductee for Arizona State.
He was only 6'2", led our team in scoring, led our team in defense. He led our team in rebounding.
Verl Heap passed away, but his brother accepted the award on his behalf, and his memory lives strong.
Everybody from our little town of St. John's, they're all excited to have him here. He's a hero in our town.
Another hero familiar with the power of hometown support is fellow inductee U of A forward Luke Walton.
The town of Tucson just gets behind you like you can't even describe the type of commitment they have towards the program there. And it's something that I'll never forget.
But for the 2 basketball stars and their families, this was not just a night to remember their feats on the court. It was also a chance for family to remember their feats as great people.
It gets me choked up talking about him. But I never heard him brag on himself or ever say a word about his ability as a basketball player, but he was great. And in my books, he was the best Arizona State's ever had.
And who was going to tell him he's wrong? In Las Vegas, I'm Ryan Foote, Cronkite Sports.
Other inductees into this year's class include Washington's Brandon Roy, Stanford's Mark Mad Dog Manson, and former NBA Slam Dunk champion Fred Jones from Oregon. Now from the stars on the court to the stars on the ice, or more than stars, champions. The ASU hockey team defeated Robert Morris last week 3-1 to capture its first ACHA national title in Delaware. Forward Ryan Ostertag scored the first 2 goals of the game, and Troy Scott hit the empty netter to secure the Murdoch Cup. Freshman goalie Robert Levin played out of his mind, stopping 92 of the 96 shots he faced throughout the tournament.
they mean everything to our program. They're the kids that came in with me, and if there was ever a group, like I told the guys before the game, there's ever a group that deserves to go out on top, it's these 8 kids, and they can leave a lasting legacy forever.
And the Diamondbacks are now in Australia to start the 2014 season against the rival Los Angeles Dodgers down under this weekend, and the Diamondbacks will be down a man, a very important man. The opening day starter Patrick Corbin has been scratched from the start with a partially torn ligament in his throwing elbow. Even worse news for the 24-year-old lefty. The tear might require Tommy John surgery, which would sideline him the entire 2014 season. Trevor Cahill will pitch for Corbin. Not good news right now to start the season for the Diamondbacks. Always a tough way to start.
Yeah, not good news for them, not good news for you guys, because it's St. Patrick's Day.
Neither of you wore green.
I don't understand how a New Yorker forgets St. Patrick's Day.
That's it for Cronkite NewsWatch tonight.
Thanks for joining us. Good night.